Hi, friends. The comments and questions you share are so helpful to our entire community and to my understanding as well. We had a great question that Sue recently asked. Sue, thank you so much for diving in with this question. She wanted to know whether one of the Kerry low Ds or the Howard were a quieter whistle since she plays in a space where she needs the whistle to play more quietly. This is a really important question for us, and my study's pretty small, and so that's something I'm worried about. Um, and I want to talk about this particular question, but there are actually a number of factors that come into play here. For example, I mentioned the room. Some people have the luxury of crafting a specific room around their whistle playing. And what you do is you can dampen the way the sound bounces around a room. You could put curtains up. You could hang, I've seen people hang blankets on the wall. I've seen people hang like a dedicated recording space where they put up like egg carton crates. And there are different ways that you can dampen the sound in a room. I don't have that luxury, and I assume very few of you do as well. So that aside, what whistles are more quiet? I've narrowed out of the low D whistles I've narrowed it down to 4 of mine. And Sue, I expanded the question a little past the Kerry and the Howard. And so, but it's pretty interesting. What I ended up doing, and I'll share the 4 whistles at the end, but the process I followed was twofold. I used a decibel meter, and I played all the low D whistles I have pretty close to the decibel meter, and then I played about 6 feet away. And then I went to a different decibel meter and did the same thing because one was an app and another was an online meter, and they don't all register quite the same. Some pick up ambient noise differently than others, which could magnify the problem. But I also, and I narrowed it down that way. And the second thing I did was I asked my wife, I said, Cindy, could you help me please? Would you listen to, I need you to say, like, what do you think of this whistle? Is it louder or softer than this other whistle? So I'd play a couple of whistles side by side. And she said, well, that one's. And I did process of elimination. And I've ended up with these 4 that I'm going to share with you in a minute. But one thing we need to say at the start is to reiterate what we know about how a whistle works, a low D whistle in particular. You know that a low D whistle requires less breath pressure to play the lower octave than it does to play the second octave. That is the nature of the beast. That's how the whistle works. You increase the pressure, the flow of air to hit those second octave notes, and as you speed the air up, you're basically shortening the wavelengths, which creates the higher tone. You don't want to know whistle physics. So anyway, that's a lot better. So sure, there are tons of whistles you could play quietly in the first octave, but when you get into the second octave, particularly as I've said before, the second half of the second octave, how much do you have to push? And that's a really big question there. Another factor that comes into play, and we've talked recently about whistles that have a clear and clean tone. A whistle that has a really clean flute-like tone will cut through, even though it's the same decibels as a mellow toned whistle, the clean, clear-toned whistle will sound louder because there are other factors than just sheer volume that come into play. So the material a whistle is made from comes into play, but not as much as you might expect. For example, two of the whistles I'm going to share with you that I'm going to say are more quiet than most have aluminum bodies. One has a brass body, and the other is carbon. And those are very different. Now, I personally don't own a wood low D. I know some wood low Ds are quiet, and I know some that just simply aren't. And if you own a wood low D whistle, I'd love you to add some comments about that in the notes to this video. Interestingly, from a room standpoint, I have thought about adding, I've got 3 nice windows at the front of my study here, and I've got blinds, and it's a lot of glass, and I'm looking forward toward a lot of wall, and I've thought about adding curtains up there, and that would help get rid of, I've got a lot of traffic noise in front of the house. That would help dampen that. I'd have to upgrade my lights. I might do that, but all these things cost money. Anyway, so the process I went by, remember, I measured just sheer volume on a decibel meter, and my goal wasn't how loud can I play this. My goal was how quietly can I play this whistle, quietly, comfortably, because you could play a whistle quietly and not be comfortable with it. So how comfortably and quietly can I play this whistle? And how loud does the volume get in the bottom and second octave, and how loud does it sound to another person? And interestingly, the 4 whistles I came up with were exactly the 4 that my wife selected. So in no real order of quiet, the first one is the Kerry Tenor D. This came up as one of the quieter whistles. Remember, it wasn't quiet. I wasn't selecting the whistle that is the quietest when I really push it hard. I was selecting the whistle that you can play the most quietly, and the whistle that sounded the most quiet to another person. I'll just run a scale on each. Actually, before I run a scale on each, I should tell you what the others are so that I could just do the scale. Sorry for stopping myself. The second is another Kerry. It is the Kerry Chieftain Custom. The Kerry Chieftain Custom is just a little quieter and than the V5. I could add the V5 in. You could do that. And Cindy, my wife, who is not a whistle aficionado, said, well, those two sound a little breathier. Nailed that one. Then the third whistle is the Howard. And I should talk about this because I want to play it. Remember, Howard has 3 different heads you could get. The reed head is the loudest, and the balanced head is it's less loud. It's a little more balanced. And then there's the Chiff head, and the Chiff head is actually just a hair more quiet than the balanced. But bear in mind that the Howard, you can get either of those 3 heads, but you can also buy one of these with a resin up in the cavity at the top there, that little recess. And that actually, I should say, takes the edge off of the tone. And I have the Chiff head with the resin in it. And when I get to play the whistles, I'll bring that one out as well. So when I say that, I'm really introducing 5 whistles. 5, that's not 5, that's 5. And the fifth one is the Carbony. Because many say the Carbony plays with the characteristics of a wood whistle. And remember, I'm not saying that this is a quiet whistle per se. I'm saying you could play it more quietly and comfortably. Remember, there's a volume range for every whistle you could play. You could play any of the 4 of these whistles quietly and gently in a smaller room, or you could play them a little more loudly. But none of these whistles will scream for your attention in a session. And all 4 of these are going to get lost in a session. I'm going to pause the video here, grab the Chiff head with the resin in it for the Howard, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, so a scale on the Kerry Tenor low D, and I'll put links to every one of these whistles in the notes to this video. Now remember, I'm trying to play well, but quietly. I'm not playing like I would play if I'm trying to just get after the whistle. Always have to play that second octave louder. I'm going to do just a little bit of the Aaron Boat song. Just because you're like, that's a scale. Play me something. I'm not going to do repeats, and I'll stop partway through. That took me up to the second octave G. That's pretty quiet. I just banged my camera stand. Now the Chieftain Custom. Same basic thing. So that's the Chieftain Custom. See, these aren't that loud. I should at the end pull up the MK Pro and see how that works, just so that you get a real difference there. So the Howard, this is the balanced head, no resin. Okay, this gives us really some different tone options to follow and work with. I'm going to put on this is the Chiff head with the resin in it. And so, remember, if you have a removable head, when you put it in, line everything up from the finger holes to the tone hole there. This one does take a little more work and causes me to play a little louder on the highest notes. Interestingly, the balanced head is actually quieter than the Chiff head. It seems that way. That's one of the reasons I'm doing all this, so that you can listen. This is the balanced head again. Okay, so this is great. This gives us, with these options, you're going to be able to choose between price ranges and tone qualities. So now this is the Carbony close finger spacing standard bore low D. Like I said, I'll put links to each of these videos. I hope this is helpful. I really, really, really would love you all to comment. What whistles do you have that you think are able to be played quietly? The MK Pro was never modeled as a quiet whistle. So I'm going to play it as quietly as I can while still playing it reasonably well. That's give you a little difference. Definitely a louder whistle. I love the tone though. But between the Kerry Tenor, the Chieftain Custom, the Howard, and the Carbony, you're going to get very different tone qualities. You're going to get whistles that you can play well and play quietly at home. Again, what other whistles do you have that you feel you could play well quietly? And like I said, I'll put links to each of these in the notes to the video. And I hope this is helpful. This has been a benefit. Please like the video. If you're brand new with us, I'd love you to subscribe, because we've got a great growing community of folks helping each other learn to play the low D whistle, and we want your voice included in that because we really do focus on helping each other learn and grow. My friends, thanks for being with me today, and I hope this is helpful. Until next time, this is Scott Shade. Happy whistling.